Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the QT2 podcast series, Race Recap. So, for this series, we've invited our athletes to come and talk about the race day experiences. So, we'll cover how they got to the starting line of the race and then go over some course details, pre-race and race day logistics, travel expenses, and anything that they want to share with you that they wish maybe they had known before going into the race. Our featured race for this episode is the New York City Marathon, and today we welcome QT2 athletes Terry Alexander and Howard Valetsky. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for joining us today. So, I want you each to just tell your story about how you got to New York City this year. And I know that you both have raced this marathon many times in the past, so maybe you can share that. Howard, do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, sure. So my story is a little unique. This was my 17th New York City Marathon. So once you hit 15, you get guaranteed entry for life. Um, I also raised money for charity for Fred's team, which Terry is on as well. But my main entry into the marathon was through my guaranteed entry.
Nice. Are you going to do it every year now?
I would like to, as long as my body
Yeah.
will allow me. I also live in Florida now, so the logistics are a little more complicated, but I would love to keep doing New York as long as I can.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Terry, how about
Yeah,
what's your story?
just with Howie. I'm also on a charity named Fred's Team. It raises funds for Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and that was how I obtained my entry. I mean, I could talk about there's a ton of charities. This was actually the first New York City Marathon charity. They have different tiers of raising money, as low as 4,500. I personally signed up for the $6,500 level, and that's how I gained my entry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean to get into New York City, you have a few options, right? You get time qualify, which seems to be harder and harder lately. I mean, it's not just good enough to run the time. You have to run the time and,
Yeah, the times are stricter than Boston.
yeah, the times are stricter and the cutoff, what ends up being the cutoff is stricter. I mean, or you go into the Slaughter in New York City, I think is now the biggest marathon
It
in the
is. Yeah.
world.
The
And
majors have been competing with each other. Right before this, it was Berlin. I don't remember the number, but yeah, New York City had over 59,000 finishers. So I can't even guess how many people, I don't like how many people actually started the race because I would guess in the close to 60.
oh yeah.
New York typically has a pretty high finisher rate, so yeah, I think Terry's probably right, probably 60 or so. But I mean, I read recently it's easier to get into like Harvard,
Yeah.
Yale
Yeah, I
than
I
I
saw.
wanted to make sure there was some validity to that article, but
Yeah, well, percentage
it's
wise.
probably correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
percentage wise. I know for 2024, it was like 4% in New York City, but I'm sure that pretty sure 2025 was harder and it's just going to keep getting more challenging to get in. So you time qualify, you get super lucky with the lottery, you run for charity, or you run it enough times that they guarantee you your entry. I mean,
Or if you live in New York, you can do the 9+1. So
9+1.
9 qualifying races plus one volunteer. That will get you in
Yeah,
as well.
it's a good program New York Roadrunners has. They have so many races during the year. I've done it in the past, maybe once or twice to get in. I've run New York City 5 times. This was my fifth, but yeah, the 9-1 is a good program. And two benefits of it: if you're first starting out as a runner, it's good to get the race day feeling, and do the 9 races. And the volunteering is pretty gratifying, to be honest. Like you're socializing with runners. It's a good program. Also, I mean, raising funds, it depends, your network. Sometimes it could be tough for people. So this is another way to gain an entry. The New York Run Runners 9+1 program.
So it's just a New York Roadrunners Club, nine of their races. And how much is there like a time period that you need to do
Well,
them in?
from January. So let's say they want to run in 2027. You have till the first race in January 2026 to the last race in the first race in 2026 to the last race in 2026. So you could spread it out across the 12 months.
Okay. And then and then volunteer.
Yeah,
for one
same
race?
thing with volunteer.
Volunteering might be harder than getting into the races, to be honest with you. Those volunteer slots get,
Yeah, I mean, if someone's considering the 9+1 program, what I would advise them is New York Runners periodically sends out emails. Winter races opening up, spring races opening up. I would recommend being on the website the day they open. Like if they open up on Wednesday at noon, be on the website a few minutes before. It's due to the 9+1 and the growing popularity of New York runners and run clubs in New York in general. They've really gotten big since during COVID. The races sell out quickly. I mean, Howard and I have been doing them for over a decade. It used to be a race opens up a few days later or a week later, you could sign up. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
the 9+1 was my avenue for 13 or 14 years.
Really?
I did it every year for like 13 or 4. But when I started 20 years ago, I went to the Roadrunner headquarters to sign up for races. There was no
I didn't know.
online, you had a chip on your shoe. And now
Mhm.
I've seen it explode from, a pretty medium-sized marathon to,
Yeah.
what it is today.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty incredible. And I think that we talked offline, maybe, or maybe it was when we started recording already about the impact that the majors has had on
Yeah.
popularity of New York and the rest of them, and now, growing number of majors races. So I do want to talk about how so New York now 59,000 and change runners that finish, 60,000 runners say that we're out there. One of the crazy things I think about New York and that makes it complicated is actually getting to the starting line. So maybe you can kind of talk about what that experience is like, what the options are when you need to select your option and then once you get there, how you end up like spending your time while you wait to actually get started with the race.
Yeah, Howie could talk about the different options. Like mentioned before, we got there the same way, but I've only done one way. Howie's done a few. If you want to touch on that, Howie.
Yeah. So there are three options. You can take a bus from the city, or you can take a bus from New Jersey, depending on where you live. You can also take the Staten Island ferry, but the caveat there is once you get off the ferry, you need to then take a bus to Fort Wadsworth. And then
Okay.
you can also get dropped off by private vehicle, but you need to cross the Verrazano Bridge, like I think like no later than 7 a.m., or you can come from, the Jersey side and get dropped off at a later time. But the two main options are ferry and bus from either Jersey or Midtown Manhattan.
And then when do you select the option that you want?
Think it usually comes out in like August
Yeah.
or July. You'll get an email from New York Road Runners. You'll have to select, and you have to be pretty quick about that because I had a friend that did not select his transportation on time or early, and he got defaulted to, I think, a 5 a.m. bus to the start, and he wasn't starting till I think 11:30.
Yeah.
So you gotta be on top of that.
Yeah. If we could just also rewind a little bit about the expo. If we wanted to, the expo. So as everybody knows, the marathon is on a Sunday. The expo opens up on Thursday at the Jacob Javits Center. It's on the west side of Manhattan. It's and with that also you have to select the day and time. I believe that email comes out the same day as select your bus. Now a little New York Roadrunner secret. They're not strictly enforcing the times. If you select 12 to 2 or 2 to 4, let's say you select 2 to 4 and you go 12 o'clock on a Thursday, they're not going to be picky about that. They are with the days, they will be. So, I mean, just plan out before, if you're traveling, when you're going to get there. In terms, if you want to buy anything, I would say don't go during peak hours because it gets very hectic. Personally, I got an email a few days before about the jackets from New Balance, and knowing how the expo is, I said I'm going to buy the jacket online. If the size doesn't fit me, I'll return it online or maybe return it there. And when I went to the expo on Thursday midday, You pick up your bib. That's very quick. That's very simple. There's no long line. They have a really good system. You get a barcode. They scan it. They give you your bib. And if you're a first timer, they'll cheer you on when you pick it up. And they're also very helpful with questions. But to get to the main area, like all the booths, which is a lot of fun, you have to go through the New Balance store. I mean, they may change setups, and that was a madhouse. Like, especially if you have a bag, it was very crowded, and I didn't shop in there. So, it was, if you wanted to buy something, which I definitely recommend, the jackets are pretty awesome. So are the vests. Don't go during peak times. The expo could get a little crazy. It's fun, especially if it's your first time, but it could get a little hectic.
Yeah. Are you local to New York, Terry?
Yeah, I'm local. I live in Queens, which what is the third borough you cross? Yeah, yeah. Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens. So for me to get to the expo was very simple. Just hopped on the 7 train. And also for anyone who's not local in New York, the 7 train in Manhattan takes you within a block of the Jacob Javits Center. So it's not difficult to get there at all. It's the 7 train is easy to get to, depends where you're staying in Manhattan, but it's not difficult to get to the expo.
Yeah. Yeah, even though, I mean, it's pretty far over on the west side, but
But again,
New York transportation is great. You're just get on the subway.
it's 2 blocks away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, Howard, now
I
you,
was local to New York, but
yeah,
now I'm in Tampa. So this was actually my first year traveling
okay.
to the marathon. So I definitely have a little bit of a different perspective than Terry did this year. I went to the expo Friday afternoon. Um, it was chaos. So if you can go Thursday, I would highly recommend it. Probably waited 10 or 15 minutes to get in to get my bib,
Yeah.
but the New Balance store it was madness. So my one recommendation, if you are traveling from out of town, if you can get there like Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, that's probably your best bet because I tend to think everyone starts to come in Thursday night, go to the expo Friday.
Yeah, and if you're going right from the airport, going with a bag there, if it's a roller, that's not a problem. They're not. All right, I'll let.
So I went with my suitcase. It's carpeted in the expo,
Yeah,
so it was a little bit difficult to carry my bag through the expo. The unspoken word is in the Javits Center down below, there is a place that the Javits Center will store your suitcase. If you ask the Roadrunner folks, they're going to say they don't know anything about it because they want to not assume any liability. But if you are going right from the airport, there is a place downstairs, I believe you can store your suitcase.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's actually really good information.
Yeah. Yeah, because of how crowded it is in there and you have to
Yeah,
have
I
to-
was dragging a suitcase
Just in
through the
general,
expo. It
just,
was
just in general, bags are a hassle.
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
it was a nightmare. I would not recommend taking your suitcase on Friday afternoon to the Marathon Expo.
Yeah, okay. That's some good advice. So you get through the expo, and then actually, I mean, I want to talk about getting to the start, but there's a few things to go through before. Some of the other choices, in addition to picking out your mode of transportation that you do when you're signing up, you also pick if you want a finisher, like the
Bag check.
So everyone gets the poncho.
everyone gets the poncho now. Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay. They
always
changed
wasn't
that.
the case, but
Okay.
now, yes.
I think in the last 2 years they decided. So a little history. You used to be able to check your bag at the start before you started.
Yeah.
Then COVID happened, and I think they realized like they didn't need to hire 150, 200 UPS trucks. So now you have to bring your bag to Central Park
West,
West
67
Thursday
through
or
Saturday,
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. Yeah.
Um, and so in the past, you would have to pick, do I want a poncho or do I want to check my bag? Now, everyone gets a poncho, regardless of if you want to check your bag or not. But you still have to bring your bag to Central Park West. I think it's Friday
Friday
and
and
Saturday
Yeah. Like
from
10
like 9.
it's all day. Yeah, it starts at
Yeah.
9. I believe it's 9 to 5, maybe,
Yeah, something like that.
but
But
it's a big window.
And
Yeah.
everyone does get a bag regardless to bring to the start because you can only bring a clear bag into the start. But if you want to check one, you need to bring it the day before to Central Park West. But everyone gets a poncho.
Okay.
And I mean, just so future runners know, if all right, so we'll talk about like the end of the race, but if you're deciding whether or not bag check, the New York City Marathon has a lot of logistics. I personally would recommend bag check because once you finish a marathon, you're probably, it depends what kind of runner you are, but you want to, me personally, the first thing I do after every race is get out of my race sneakers. So I would recommend it for that reason. And also like it also depends where you're staying in Manhattan. You want to get into warm clothes. The bag is pretty big. You could fit a couple things in there. If you rip it while you're packing it the day before, they will have other bags at the where you check in. Because when I went to close it, I ripped the drawstring. I wanted to put my camera in there to make a reel after. That didn't happen because that closed it to rip. But yeah, and also the direction you're walking in when you exit the marathon will be towards the bags. So and all it is a little bit of a walk, but it's also good for you when you finish a marathon. And we'll talk more about the finish. Before you sit down, you do want to walk a little while, so it will seem long because you just finished a marathon, but in my opinion, it's worth it. And they do very well with bag check. They see you coming, they see your bib number, and they're already going for the bag number. Like you won't, it's not, it's good. It's a good option. And again, like Howard said, I'm going to be switching off calling them Howie and Howard this podcast because we're friends, but it's everybody gets a poncho.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the year I did it, which was now, I mean, almost 10 years ago, you had to pick one or the other. I was like, that kind of stinks. So I picked the poncho because I really wanted one. But yeah. Okay, so let's go back now. Race morning. It sounds like you guys both had a bit of a nightmare getting to the start.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, like I mentioned, New York City has a lot of logistics. I would say the most out of all the majors, having run all the majors. I mean, just to give you a little background, I was wave one. I do live in Queens, but just to make it easier for me, I got a hotel room in Times Square the night before. Times Square is where our charity bus leaves from, Fred's team. Buses leave from there and also from Bryant Park, which is just a few blocks away. Times Square is, on 8th Avenue, Bryant Park to 6th Avenue. They're all around the same street. I was up at 4 a.m. and I didn't start running till 9:16 a.m. So you need to be prepared to. It's not like a long run where you're going to wake up and run within an hour and a half. It's a long day before you start running, and just so the reason you're getting there so early is due to street closures. The Verrazano Bridge it's from Manhattan is pretty much the only direct way to get to the start. So you have to get there, and then they have to close the bridge for to start the wheelchairs and the pros. So you need to be prepared for that. I was wave one, as was Howie. They have 5 waves, and I believe wave 5 is around 11:40 start.
Yeah, it's a long time sitting there.
So that now, just talking about it, Howie mentioned the ferry. If you're taking the bus, you're getting there early. I believe with the ferry, you could get there a little later. So that's another option if you're the later waves. But I mean, in a personal opinion, I feel a lot more comfortable when I'm there. I don't want to be scrambling. So and also again, I'm a New York native, so I know the subway system. I know the ferry. When we were taking the bus, I saw a lady around Penn Station, driving by, looking confused, like which subway am I on and whatnot. So if you're going to take the ferry, have a clear cut plan. Which subway you're going to take, which direction you're going to go downtown. Once you get off the subway, you'll see people walking to the ferry, so that's easy. But have a clear-cut plan. And I mean, if you're in New York City 2 days before, I would, and you're going to take the ferry, do a test run. I mean, don't get on the ferry, but take the subway that you're going to take and walk outside and see where the ferry is.
Yeah, I took the ferry when I did it, and I just booked a hotel downtown.
Okay. Yeah.
That was my way. I'm like, okay, then from the finish line, you deal with the longer trip. But
Again,
yeah,
I mean, talking about out of town logistics, I would say get a hotel in Manhattan. I've heard some people getting hotels near the start just because they don't know. You want to get in any race, pretty much, in my opinion. Any of the majors, you want to get a hotel where it's easy to get to from the finish. If you're staying in like even an outer borough like Queens or Brooklyn, still pretty easy to get to. Don't Getting back to Staten Island after you finish is a big thing. So don't get a hotel near the start because you feel like it's convenient. For other races, yes, not this one.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, but you get there still. You were up at 5. What time did you actually get to the race start?
We'll
Uh,
Okay, not as soon as you wanted, I guess.
we could talk about this. Other years, we've definitely had some downtime. I think there was two factors this year. Howie, I didn't feel like there was traffic. Maybe we left a little. Maybe I mean getting there. I think we did leave. The buses did get in motion a little later than usual. Security lines were very long. Yeah, and I mean it's not like they're thoroughly the security is good, but it's not like they were just very long. You do go through a metal detector. They are looking at your stuff, which they should. It's in New York City. It's a major marathon, but that took a while between.
yeah. Go ahead, Terry. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you could touch on it. Yeah.
We probably got to Staten Island around 7:10, 7:20. In past years, you would just walk right through security, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It took, it was 8:10, and I still wasn't through security.
Wow.
And my corral closed at 8:45.
Yeah, and they're
So we had to do some maneuvering to, like Terry said, normally like probably have some, I've had like an hour before just downtime to get situated. I had 10 or 15 minutes to get everything in order and get to the corral. They were shutting the corral within 5 minutes of us walking in. So I don't know if it was the amount of people this year or they didn't have enough people working, but the line to get in, I mean, we were walking to the start, Terry, and I don't know if you noticed, people were still waiting to go through security. And that was it,
I noticed that.
that was at like 9:10.
Hmm.
Granted, they were probably in later waves, but I've never seen a security situation like that before. And there are two entrances. So if you come by ferry, you get dropped off at the other side of Fort Wadsworth, but all the buses that come from the city go to that one spot.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was a pretty big log jam. It took like I think, almost 45 minutes for me to clear security. When normally it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I'm not sure what contributed to that.
And they are strict about corral closures. So
Yeah, and they are very strict.
yeah, I mean, worst case, let's say you're wave one and your corral closes, you could go up to wave two. I mean, you don't want to do that, but that's the option there. You could go like any race, you could go up. You just can't go down. Like if you're wave two, you don't think just because you're there early, you could walk into wave one. And another thing I would recommend when you get in and after you get situated, get on a bathroom line because just like any race, those get long. So, get on a bathroom line. There's plenty of porta potties up until basically the start. Like, yeah, just get on a line. Don't get nervous. They move quickly. Like you see a long line, just like any race. Lines move quickly, but it does look intimidating when you see a long one. But there is a lot. There's a lot of porta potties, and they move. And don't go to unless you really need to use the restroom. Don't go to the first ones you see because that's what everybody does. Move down a little bit, and like I said, they have them basically, 30, 40 feet from just start.
Yeah. So if you had, I mean, we talked, your start was at 9:10, I think you said, right? And then,
Yep.
but there's people that are starting 2 hours later. So what would you do, or what were some of your teammates or people doing that have now got there and they've cleared security and they, have 2 hours?
Yeah.
What are you
I
doing?
mean, I
to-
haven't always been wave one, so in past experiences, it's about timing your breakfast,
yeah.
so getting there. I usually try and find a spot, put down like a Mylar blanket or something to just sit. People read books, but you also have to remember it could be pretty chilly at Fort Wadsworth in the morning. You're right by the water, so I think it's about just getting off your feet, finding a place. It's like a festival atmosphere. So you're not going to be by yourself.
It's a good
Um,
vibe. It's a really good.
yeah, and there's coffee and there's bagels, and there's water. But I think it's about just getting off your feet and kind of getting into like that mental state of, okay, I'm going to be here for a couple hours. Like how can I pass the time without, burning all those calories? And because I mean, it's a long morning. I feel like by the time Terry and I started at 9:15, we had already been awake for 5 hours.
Yeah, and
And now
that's
you have to go run, another 3 to 4 hours to get to the finish. I mean,
it's a long
it's a
day.
long day. So I think it's about preserving your calories also in the morning and not burning it. There's a lot of excitement. And maybe you want to check out a friend that's in like a different, corral, or a different color, and you want to walk over there. So it's about preserving your energy, I think, also.
Yeah,
And
and
then what do you do?
one
So
thing
you,
Howard said, bring either a trash, like a garbage bag or a blanket. I mean, you'll find a stoop. I mean, there'll be plenty of places to sit on the grass and stuff, but I mean, just bring something you could sit on.
yeah.
And
But at this point, you can't check a bag, right? I mean, you bring in what you have. So what
It's a
happens?
clear bag,
Clear
and
bag.
pretty big.
yeah.
It's pretty big. Anything you bring either gets thrown away or you run with it. I mean, I brought just for, I don't run with my phone, so I didn't bring that with me. But like I bought a cheap $20 charger just because which it didn't even work. I like to run with my Apple Watch to share my location with people. So I bought a cheap $20 charger and I was charging it up until I started running. The share the location didn't work, but yeah, like, and I just chucked that. I mean, it all depends, if you're comfortable throwing things away, wasting $20 and here and there. But yeah, anything you come with, you're either running with it or throwing it out.
And the clothes gets donated to charity,
Yeah, that's
just
what I was
just as a
wondering. They do.
caveat. So
Yeah,
it's going to a good cause regardless.
Yeah.
and just like Howie said, definitely bring warm clothing. A sweatpants, an old fleece. I didn't have any old sweatpants. I bought like a $12 pair on Amazon. I had an old fleece. It's gonna make a world of difference. Like, you want to be warm when you start running, and you could again those you could toss right before you start running. You could go to the start line like right before you start running. There'll be bins everywhere, and they, like I said, they get donated. Like Howie said, they get donated to charity.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So you've made it through. You've either rushed through or you're hanging out, but you're in your corral now. I mean, and there's quite like there's a lot that you have to go through to actually get to the starting line in New York. So you think you're there, but then you
It,
go to
it,
another holding place.
it's a
Yeah.
big day, and one thing I noticed, like like I mentioned with the long run, you when you're doing your long run, either if you run in the morning or at night, like when you start getting ready, you're running anywhere from like a half hour to an hour later. This marathon is not like that. I mean, marathons aren't like that in general, but just be prepared. If you're not used to waking up early. I'm not saying wake up at 4 a.m. and do nothing for a few hours, but just keep that in mind because especially if you trained hard and if it's your first or second or third marathon, you're gonna be up for a while. So just keep that mentally. I mean, coaches could talk more about. I'm not a coach myself, but your coach could tell you more about like your preparation, but something to keep in mind.
So now, though, with all this lead up to the race, and then the race starts, and people go bonkers at the beginning, right? I mean,
Cannon, Howie, you can talk about the cannon.
Oh yeah, the howitzer. That a few people get scared, but yeah, at every start, there's no air horn. It's they fire a cannon. You see all the white smoke, and then everyone goes.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
The cannon will definitely give you a rush of adrenaline. I mean, now people know it's coming, but it's amazing. It's a great sound. It's an actual cannon. I mean, like in Hunger Games, when somebody goes, it's like that sound. But not even starting. It depends. There's three colors. There's blue, orange, and pink. Pink is the bottom of the Verrazano Bridge. Blue and orange are the top. And with those, whether like let's say you're blue and you have a friend in orange around the same letter, you could go like they're not they're for just for some background. I was orange, Howard was blue, and we all went into blue. They don't blue and orange. They're not strict. If you're pink, you're on the bottom level. I've personally ran the bottom level. Don't get intimidated by it. It's both are the same. You both get a view of Manhattan. Some people might even say the bottom might be better because you get a little bit of shade in the beginning. That's that. But wherever you are before you start, you see the bridge and it's a sight. You're already excited. You're thinking about what you're going to do. You see the bridge and it is a beautiful sight.
Yeah. And I mean, you start running uphill on the bridge and
Yeah.
people do, I feel like they go off crazy because it's like you're like pent up for so long and then all of a sudden,
Um,
boom.
the first mile, and I confirmed it from my Garmin this year, is actually the biggest climb of the race.
Yeah, but
You don't,
you
yeah.
don't feel
Yeah.
it because it's pretty crowded.
Yeah.
But to go back to your point, Terry, I think if you are on the lower level, you can go to blue or orange as long as you go backwards. So as long as you're going backwards, so
Yeah.
if you're like pink A and I'm like blue B, you can come run with me on the upper level as long as you go backwards. You can never go forwards with
Yeah,
Roadrunners.
I was unaware.
So if you're lower level and you have a friend on the upper level, as long as they're backwards, you can
Okay.
go with them.
I mean, and also, yeah, just to touch on that, if you're wave one, pink, and you have a friend wave two, blue, you could go to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the color that's just
Yeah,
arbitrary?
blue,
Yeah.
yeah,
On
blue,
your bib.
orange are
Yeah.
top, pink is bottom.
Yeah. Okay. Um,
So
all right. So you get started in the race. It's pretty crowded. I mean, it's crowded at the beginning. How does that change as the race goes on, or does it? Like how long? Well, first, how long does it take to actually be able to run your own pace?
All right, so the bridge is about 1.8 miles. One thing which coaches would advise, anybody would advise, those people running in front of you, they're your best friends. Don't weave.
yeah.
You're gonna feel like you want to pick up your pace. Don't because I mean, number one, not even adding mileage. Weaving does, in QT2 we run on heart rate. Weaving does, raise your heart rate and whatnot. In my opinion, it opens up when you hit Brooklyn, which is mile 10.
Yeah. I think personally, for me, the first mile is going to be slow. Then you're going downhill. You don't want to blow out your quads on mile two. So for me, until you get to like Fourth Avenue in Brooklyn, which is, 2.5, that's when you can start settling into your race pace. So I always say the first 2 miles, I wouldn't say ignore them, but don't be discouraged if your first mile is like 10 and your second mile is like 8. I mean, it's uphill, downhill, but I think once you're on Fourth Avenue, I mean, you're on there for
13 miles.
you're in Brooklyn for 11 miles. So, and you're on Fourth Avenue for probably 9. So
Okay.
that's when you can really start settling into your race pace. So like 2.5-ish is
Yeah.
when I'll do like that mental check of like heart rate, pace,
Hmm.
fluids, fuel. But those first 2 miles is just really about, I think, getting it, getting into the groove.
Yeah, and I mean, also like on the bridge, it's if to me, when you see Manhattan in the distance, it's a really special feeling. You're like,
And you have the helicopters flying around the bridge. So it's,
it's,
it's a scene.
yeah,
But you don't really feel the hill, to be honest with you, because there are so many people. So it is, like Terry said, it is our largest climb of the day, but it's not, you can't compare it to like all the other climbs because you're not going to feel it.
Yeah. So, all right. So, but 2.5 in, you're able to basically run your pace, but it never really opens up, does it? Or, I mean,
I think in Brooklyn,
yeah. Yeah.
I think in Brooklyn from like 2.5 to maybe 6 or 7, I would say it's open, but there are parts of Brooklyn, and I mean Terry could attest, from mile like
Love
8
to get down.
to 12, it's wild. It's a giant block party. People are just in the streets, and it for me this year felt a little claustrophobic in certain parts of Brooklyn, but I think that's like the whole joy and the whole allure of running New York,
Yeah.
that it's just like a giant block party. But I'd say it does open up at the beginning, but then there are parts of Brooklyn like Bedford Avenue, Lafayette, where it's kind of wild. It's really hard to explain unless I take a video every year because it's just so crazy. I know Terry, you kind of had a little video on your Meta glasses right before the savings bank this year, but
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
didn't even know where that was, but yeah.
But yeah, it's wild, but it does open up for a little.
Yeah, there's, I don't remember exactly where, but I do remember, and like I said, I've ran New York City 5 times, and I actually forgot about this. Some places in Brooklyn get a little narrow. It's well navigated, but just be ready for that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's from mile 7 to like mile 9, so right by the Barclays Center. That's Lafayette. And it calms down a little bit. You kind of go through the Hasidic part of Brooklyn, and it's pretty wide open, but there's no one on the streets.
Hmm.
And then you get back into like Bedford Avenue, which is probably like 8 to like 11 or 12, maybe even like right before the half marathon point, and
yeah,
that's pretty crowded. So there are like two sections in Brooklyn where it's pretty, but it's well controlled.
Hmm.
But it's pretty narrow.
yeah. I mean, I can say NYPD does a very good job of
Yeah.
controlling everything. And then, I mean, we keep talking about the crowds and the crowds. I've ran all 6 majors. I've ran in 7 different cities. Uh, not, I mean, part of me is from being from here, but New York City is hands down my number one marathon, and it's all about the crowds. It's a big party. It's a big
I
party.
think Brooklyn's better than Manhattan. I
Yeah.
know I'm going to be persecuted for this on the
No,
podcast. I think Brooklyn is better
I
than
agree with
Manhattan
that.
when it comes to the crowds. And I think it's like a cultural thing also because you're going through all these
Different.
different proclets of Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement. And I mean, also has to be doing, you're first starting the race, you're getting in your groove. Like, it's, and again, you're not in Staten Island, you're in there for the hot minute. You're in Brooklyn for a while. You don't cross into Queens till 13
13.
point, yeah, 13.2. So it's, it all depends what kind of runner you are. I interact with the crowds, and it's awesome. Like, it's gonna, another point I want, the crowds are gonna get to you. Like, they're gonna push you to run fast and get excited. Control that, because
Yeah.
especially if it's one of your first few marathons, you're gonna Brooklyn, they say it's flat and fast. There are some bumps, like nothing crazy. You're gonna feel them, but it's nothing, nothing super challenging. But go with the plan your coach gave you. Don't feel like, oh, I feel good. The crowds are pumping me up. Don't feel like you should deter from the plan. Coaches know what they're doing. Why they give you a pace plan. Control that. Definitely interact with the crowds, but control it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that person that passed you on the Verrazano Bridge, you're going to pass them 13 or 14 miles later. Do not let the crowds get to you. Run your own race. If you let the crowds get to you, you're going to be in a world of pain
Yeah. And
really early. And the
you'll see
second
as
half of the New York City Marathon is no joke.
yeah, we'll touch on that, the actual like course and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about, so we've gotten Staten Island, Brooklyn, then we go into Queens next, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, through Brooklyn, it sounds like it's mostly flat, some little bumps, but then you start, okay, so leave Brooklyn. What's it like after that?
Howie, you want to talk about the Pulaski Bridge?
Yeah, so to get from Brooklyn to
Queens.
Queens, you have to run the Pulaski Bridge. I think that's the first time in the race where you're like, okay, I need to maybe start doing some work. It's not the longest climb in the world, but you're halfway through. You've been running for, an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's a I would call it a gentle climb, but it's a longish climb. Maybe, I don't know, a half mile, quarter mile.
Yeah,
And
and
then you
also it looks a little intimidating.
and there are no fans. So this is like the first time you're not interacting with anyone. The only people on the bridge are, I would say, Roadrunner employees and people taking pictures.
Yeah,
So this is the first time you're just at
photographers
your own
with
thoughts.
license, with a license. Yeah,
Yeah. And then you dip down. You're really only in Queens for 2
two.
miles, maybe. And it's relatively flat, pretty good crowd support.
Yeah, well,
Um,
one thing I want to touch on with the Pulaski Bridge, again, the climb is going to look intimidating. It's not as bad as it looks, but there is a really good drop where you can
yeah,
get
it's a pretty steep downhill. Yeah.
where you could get your energy back. Obviously, again, I'll keep touching on it. Follow your coach's plan because downhill does tear up your quads. But if you're feeling exhausted going up that, just know you're going to get a really good drop. And
Yeah.
you're gonna
Fair point.
and touching more to Howie's point, you're gonna be relatively flat for another 2 miles.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Queens is sort of like I call it the calm before the storm. Relatively flat, pretty good crowd support. Um, but what's in front of you is the 59th Street Bridge. Um, Anyone that's run New York, when you come off the Pulaski, that's what's in front of you, and
You
you
could,
know Manhattan is the next, and you can see it. So
yeah,
Manhattan's probably 2 or 3 miles away. So you're in Queens for like 2.5,
yeah,
3 miles at the
yeah.
most.
More than two, less than three.
Yeah, yeah. You're in there from like 13.75 to like
Yeah,
15 because I think you hit 15 on the 59th Street Bridge.
yeah,
So you're really not in Queens for very long.
yeah. And after like your first turn after the Pulaski Bridge, you're gonna start to see the 59th Street Bridge in the above you. It's a good sight. It's a good sight. And then I mean, do you want to start talking about the bridge? Uh, I mean, I'm gonna be blunt. It's you got 15 miles on your legs. The bridge is, and I live right by it. I run it all the time. The bridge is difficult, and we keep talking about the crowds and the crowds. You're gonna leave Queens. You're on the bridge. It's kind of like like tunnel vibes because like you're in a underpass. It's quiet. Uh, and there'll be people talking. Me personally, I like to interact with the people there and the runners. I was saying, don't let this bridge beat me. Don't let this bridge beat me. Somebody told me to shut up. Someone told me to keep talking. But it's a tough climb. But again, it's also not as much as the Pulaski Bridge. You have a nice drop.
It's, I think, a mile up, I would think.
Point 0.6.
I think that's really the time where I personally can tell where people haven't trained properly.
Mm.
That bridge, it's tough, but I think if you go into the mindset of you're breathing one step after the other, don't let people, if people are passing you, that's great. Let them pass you. But once you get to the top of that climb, you have a really, really nice downhill into Manhattan. But that bridge is quiet. It's
Yeah,
super eerie. You can hear a lot of people breathing or a lot of people talking to themselves.
like me.
But what's on the other side of that bridge,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure I could even like accurately describe it.
Um,
I run with a bunch of first timers or people around me this year that are what's that noise that I can hear? And I'm like, oh, well, that's First Avenue.
yeah.
And you have like a million people that are just waiting to greet you on the other side. And it's like I said, I've done it 17 times. It gets you every single time.
And you
One caveat, do not fly down that other side of the bridge just because you hear those people, because
it,
I've said it once and I'll say it again. The second half of the New York City Marathon, is hard.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I want. We'll touch on that. I don't know if they had it in the years past. This year there was a sign, a big curve coming, like a sharp turn. That's when you're coming off the bridge. I mean, we talk about how the bridge is quiet. As you could see the mile 16 sign, you're going to start to hear the crowds. Like, and it's a good sound. Me personally, the reason I started running marathons in general, the New York City Marathon was my first one. I spectated right off the bridge, and just the excitement there was, it got me. I was with my sister, and I told her next year I'm going to run the New York City Marathon. And I mean, I've run 12 marathons. That was it. That was it. Now, First Avenue's a party. It's there's a lot of good sites there. Look, I mean, no clear cut. The New York City Marathon is very hard, and you come off the bridge. You're mile 16. It's the last 10. It's basically, and you're not going to feel it. You're going to realize it after. It's basically to the end, all rolling hills. Like, yeah. Don't let the crowds on First Avenue get to you. Same thing. You may feel like I have 10 miles left. I'm going to get to single digits. Go with your pace plan. I mean, it didn't really affect me because I look at my watch constantly. You're coming off the bridge. Your speed is increased from when you were running uphill. Off the bridge is 59th Street, 60th Street. I got caught in the crowds. I didn't look at my watch for 12 blocks, and I was running about maybe 30 seconds per mile faster than what was planned. So, just keep that in mind. I obviously looked at my watch and slowed down, but just like we said in Brooklyn, and more so on First Avenue, because you come from quiet, the crowds are going to hit you again.
Yeah. I don't know what year it was, but there was a year that one pro dropped like it was like a 4:30 or yeah.
2000, I mean, it could be any year, but one pro said they ran a 4:55 mile on First Avenue. I
They
think
realized, and I
it
don't think
was,
they actually ended up winning the
yeah,
race.
I think it was
So,
2011. Yeah.
and from personal experience, last year I was feeling really good. I dropped the hammer a little too early on First Avenue, and I paid the price.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't, and they're probably
Early
15
there.
or 20 deep on First Avenue, and that could be conservative. All the bars are open. People have been drinking since 9 a.m. Like, don't get fed into that because, like Terry said, like it's basically all rolling hills for the next 10 miles.
Yeah. So you're on First Avenue and you have to get into the Bronx from there.
Hmm.
Just to touch and come back out again.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
get take the Willis Avenue Bridge.
Yeah, it's a straight up shot. They do. I mean, there's if you look at it on a map, there's not that many turns in the New York City Marathon. There's a few, but I mean, I mean, obviously you're following all the runners, but there's nothing like, no super sharp turns or everything. You're going to see them from a distance. You're running up First Avenue, and First Avenue is where the Willis Avenue Bridge is. And again, it's another climb. Willis Avenue Bridge, I believe, is mile 19.
It's 20. Oh
20.
no, it's 19 that leads into
Yeah.
20. So I think you hit 19 in Manhattan. So you're only on First Avenue, honestly, for 2 miles from 59th Street to 120,
25th.
125th. And then you're on the Willis, you're on the bridge. And then right after that, you're in the Bronx, and 20 is right there.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I learned this year, and I'm going to give a shout out to our coach, Coach Tom from Fred's team, on the Willis Avenue Bridge. If you run on the right side of the bridge, it's a little bit flatter than the left side, which is a steeper incline. So this year, I ran with him and I ran on the right side, and it didn't really feel like I was running uphill on a bridge because it was like a little bit of a flatter incline. It's a short bridge, and then yeah, you pop right into the Bronx for. I don't even think you're in the Bronx for a mile.
Uh, yeah, that's
No, because you get 21 is the bridge that takes you back into Manhattan.
Yeah, you're not in the Bronx for very long.
And that's probably the most turns you're going to get on the course, by the
Yeah.
way, too, is in the Bronx. They have you weave around a bunch of
Again,
blocks. Probably,
it's very well navigated. I,
yeah.
I don't feel like if there's a turn coming that you're gonna bump into this person.
No,
It's very
I
well.
just feel like at that point, any turn, your body's like, ugh, why do I need to start, navigating turns?
Uh,
But that's really, you're in the Bronx for a mile, and then I forgot the name of the last bridge. Um,
Madison Avenue.
Madison Avenue Bridge, and then you pop, that's 21, and then you're back in Manhattan.
You're back in Manhattan, and then you hit Central Park at 22.
Let's rewind a little.
Okay, all right.
Oh, we got to talk about Fifth Avenue and all
Okay,
to
okay,
get to
sorry, go
Central
ahead.
Park.
Before
Yeah.
Central Park. So now my you're in the Bronx, and then everything's numbered. So you go to Manhattan, Fifth Avenue, 125th, 124th. That's where I personally start counting down. Because the numbers are going down. You're running down First Avenue, down as in numbers, but it's uphill. It's
You
uphill.
mean you're running down Fifth Avenue?
Sorry,
The
yeah.
number,
Yeah. You're running down Fifth Avenue as in you're running downtown, 125th, 124th. Me personally, that's where, I start to count down. But again, it's you're running uphill.
and the
So
park's at 89th Street.
yeah, you
So,
enter Central Park at 90th Street.
or 90th, yeah.
And you get a downhill, not right away in the park, about like a few block. You entered something called Engineers Gate. You get some little bumps, but there's something called Cat Hill, which is on. At this point, you forget about the street numbers when you enter the park. Cat Hill is, it's technically it's 72nd Street. You don't see street signs anymore, street numbers, but it's a good downhill. The crowds again. I'm going to keep talking about the crowds. The crowds in Fifth Avenue, everywhere. The crowds are amazing, but when you should start to feel like what how you're going to do, what your finish time is going to be. I don't want to say mile 22, maybe mile 23, because you're close to the park. You enter the park at 24. Again, the crowds in the park are also amazing, and people are there for a while. The crowds are amazing, but you should really start to feel like, what's my finish time going to be at like mile 23? Yeah, I mean, the crowds will help carry you through the race, whether you're well trained and whatnot, or you have a time set in mind. The crowds are going to carry you to the finish. So
And once you're in the park now, I mean, it's hilly though. You go downhill and swing
Oh, yeah.
uphill,
It's,
right? Yeah.
we talked about rollers.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to get quick rollers down
they're
and
like
up.
punchy little rollers, but
But
I
they're
mean,
down and up. They're quick. Like what I mean about quick is you do one, then you do another. Like there's no real flat.
Okay. And then what's the finish like?
All right.
well, you gotta leave the park
Yeah.
to get back into the park.
Okay.
So I think at 40K, right after the 40K mark, you're going to turn left. You're actually going to go exit the park, and then you're going to turn onto the Central Park South.
Yeah.
You're going to run past the plaza.
Okay.
That's where you'll get like the 1 mile to go. Then you're going to run by Columbus Circle. Then you have to pop back into Central Park. And then if you haven't hit enough hills yet, once you get to 26,
Let's pause for a second. There's a band at Columbus Circle. If you could hear that band, you're
oh
finished.
yeah, like a DJ or a band.
You could hear
But
that
the
music, you are finishing the race.
Okay.
So
but the last two are uphill.
yeah.
As you haven't had enough. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but again, you've been on your legs all day. But at that point, you know, look straight at the finish line, run as hard as you can. The finish line's going to be right in front of you.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you turn on what's called Columbus Circle. You're re-entering the park. You know, there's signs everywhere. Once you turn into the park, you won't see it right away, but like in a little while, you'll be able to see the finish. And there's signs: 800 meters left, 400 meters left. It you know, it you but again, you could see the finish.
Mhm. So, and the finish line itself, is that like, I mean,
It's
what's
a
the feel?
it's a sight, yeah. You know, it's huge, it's wide, it's so
Bleachers on both sides, so there are
yeah,
people in the bleachers. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exciting. And
yeah.
then you finish though, and then it takes what, like a mile to get out of the park after. So you
Yeah,
go
I mean,
sweep
this is
through.
yeah. You finished the race. Hopefully, you had a good race, but the end of race logistics are things you have to keep in mind. You cross the finish, and everything is very the security and volunteers do a very good job. Like I mentioned before, keep don't like if you see a stoop, don't feel like you want to sit down. Get your medal, which is you can get your medal. Just keep walking. Definitely get the recovery bag. There's I knew where it was, so I went for it right away. There you drink the Gatorade, but keep moving. And yeah, so you finish on 67th Street and you exit, I believe, and Howie could correct me, on the west side on 72nd Street.
I think, Terry, that's just for charity runners.
Okay.
I think you have to walk to maybe 77th or 78th,
It,
but
it,
it's very well managed. It's, they're very good with crowd control. Yeah, get your medal, get your picture taken, especially if you're a first timer. Get that recovery bag. But I think, Terry, it's like 77th
yeah, well,
on the west side, and then you actually then have to walk. Depending if you're meeting people, you can walk down, and I think they have, I think it's by last name. I don't know if they've changed it, but
the
you can
family.
kind of walk down Central Park West. Um, my recommendation would be maybe not to walk down, but to kind of keep going west as far as you can, where the crowds disperse, and maybe make like a meeting spot with your family at like a bar, something away, because the crowds around the marathon, around like 72nd to 77th on like Columbus, really crowded.
Yeah.
So the farther west you can get after you exit, the better off you are in terms of finding your family.
And so while you're running, I mean, there's timing chips everywhere, right? So people can
Every,
simulate
Yeah.
track
yeah,
where,
so I mean, just like any marathon, there's a mile marker every marker. I believe we can't talk about the app this year because there was issues. New York Runners tried something new. I'm sure they'll fix it, but people tracking you will get an update pretty much every mile.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's every mile and then every 5K
Yeah, those
as
are the
well.
big ones. The 5Ks are the big alerts, but in terms of what I meant, that's when the app gets the push alerts. But if you want to track someone, you'll see when every mile you'll get an update. Like if you're refreshing the app.
Yeah, you get to see him. So if I'm watching though, if I'm a spectator and I want to see you in multiple places, is that possible?
It's doable. Just learn the New York, learn the transit system. New York City has a great subway. You could get around. You just have to know it. Like you may have to take multiple subways to get to a certain location, but it's doable. I know of personally people who have seen friends in Brooklyn, seen them on First Avenue, seen them on Fifth Avenue. It's doable. And then getting to the finish, is also doable.
I would say one caveat. You can definitely spectate in multiple spots, but you really, if you want to be in Manhattan and go to multiple spots, you need to be on the west side. Because if
Mhm.
you're on the east side watching your runner above
To go down
59th
to go
Street,
up.
it is virtually impossible to get to the west side. Now, this year was the first year I ever saw a designated space for people to cross from the west side to the east side. No, the east side to the west side. But my recommendation would be spectate on the west side at like, if you're going to be in the city, then you can easily pop over to Central Park Pop in there and see your runner. The finish line is closed. You need a ticket to the grandstand if you want to see your runner actually cross the finish line. But it's definitely doable. Like my wife went from Brooklyn to Manhattan to see me. It's just about knowing the trains. But my one recommendation is try and stay on the west side if you want to bump around from like First Avenue to Fifth Avenue to Central Park.
I had family see me in Queens right before the Queensboro Bridge, and then on Central Park South. I mean, just for context, you if you're in Queens, you could take the NRW line, and that'll take you from Queensboro Plaza, which is the Queensboro Bridge, to 57th and 7th, which is Central Park South.
Wow. This is like incredibly helpful. How much I mean, the tips that you gave. Is there anything that I haven't asked or that hasn't brought that you would, really
Yeah, we
want?
didn't really talk about like the aid stations, Terry.
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
had that in my mind and then we went past it. Yeah.
So
So,
they don't start till mile three because obviously you can't have an aid station on the bridge. Water, Gatorade.
Gatorade
I think
Endurance, which I
five,
know.
7, and 9. There are no water. There's no stop 5, 7, 9. I think it's due to construction. I'm not really sure. Porta potties at every mile. Um, First aid at every single mile, and then I think in two spots
Morton.
there Morton gels. I think it was like 8 and like I forget the second. It was definitely in Brooklyn at like mile 8, and then there was another one where they had caffeinated and
Yeah.
non-caffeinated
Now, yeah,
gels.
about Morton, that what they have on course changes every year. This year,
Yeah.
they just happen to have Morton. From a personal opinion, if you do take Morton, just bring your gels with you.
Yeah.
You don't want to bank on that, and also like with the water and Gatorade stations. I mean, this is what coaches will say. Water's a thirst quencher. You really want Gatorade Endurance for the sodium. My personal recommendation is when you see a water station, go to like the back end tables because people go to the front and they take their water or their Gatorade, and which they should. They start walking so they could drink it. So like that's going to get a little crowded. If you go to the back end tables, and
Yeah.
the volunteers are great. They have them in hand. In the later miles, I put like a two up, and they gave me 2 cups. But they're every mile, and on both sides, on the left and right side.
Oh, you know what? One thing actually about both sides. I'm glad you brought that up, Terry. If you are blue and you're orange, you're on separate sides of the street in Brooklyn until I forgot exactly what mile.
Like it's like late. It's like
It's
nine.
like 7 or 6. No, it's earlier. It's 5 or something. Whatever it is, do not cross over because you're running different mileage. So I've seen people go under. Yeah, you're actually running a different because if you notice, blue and orange kind
Yeah,
of start differently on the Verrazano Bridge. So if you cross over, you're kind of running a different.
yeah,
You're running a shorter race
yeah.
or a
And
longer race, depending on.
about crossing over, I not that early. I did cross over mile 8 to see a friend on the other side. Well, you could like there's where Howard says don't cross over. There's rope. I mean, so when you see
Right,
rope,
but the whole marathon becomes one at
yeah.
like mile 5 or 6, where pink actually comes in and merges with blue and orange. But at the beginning, blue and orange are separate. And if you do cross over, I'm just saying, like you're probably running a different distance, just because of where blue and orange start on the bridge. It's minuscule, but just saying, you can cross over. No one's going to stop you. But yeah,
All right. Any
and I
any
just
other?
one other thing I'd say: don't wear your headphones. I
Yeah.
do, but I this was the last 2 years. I've not physically been able to hear my music. I mean, that's how loud the crowds are.
you know,
So you can bring it if you really need it later on. But I mean, there are parts of Brooklyn and Manhattan where you can have your headphones on the loudest volume. You can't even hear yourself think sometimes. Enjoy the crowd, give people high fives. thank the volunteers. They've been out there all morning. They're getting water and Gatorade thrown on them. Um,
Adding to the headphones. Yeah, you don't need them. Same as Howie. I bring them with me. I personally don't run with my phone. I listen to when I do listen to music, it's through my Apple Watch. If you're gonna run with your phone, I would recommend putting it either on, I mean, do not disturb, or maybe turning off signal, because the battery may not make it to the end,
yeah.
because it's a very not about I mean, any phone has a good battery. There's a lot of cell signal from all the spectators, and that drains your battery even more. So two things. I mean, if you want to, if you're trying to meet people after and you do run with your phone, and to my experience most people do run with their phone, if you're using it for music, obviously keep it on, but maybe turn like reception off. But maybe have a charger in your bag, in your check-in bag, because I mean, my Apple Watch has died at, mile 20 21. I did have a charger in my bag after. So, and the reason is, especially if you don't have like it's eating doing the signal is draining the battery.
I run on airplane mode, and I would just say one last thing. When you do finish the race, it's pretty hard to send a text message. The cell signal's pretty
Yeah.
concentrated. You could make phone calls, but I would also maybe have like a set meeting spot, because they can see on the app when you actually exited the park. So, I would maybe have a place to meet versus trying to send a text. I've always been able to make phone calls, but it's pretty saturated if you think about it. Two
You
million people, all,
sending you may have problems sending text in Staten Island too.
yeah, yes, yeah. It's so saturated. So I would pick a meeting spot after the marathon, just in case you can't send a text or make a phone call.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. So, well, I want to thank you, both of you, for coming on and sharing all of your experiences. Really appreciate it. And I learned a bunch, and I've raced this race before, so I got some good insight. Thank you very much.
Of course, appreciate it. Loved it.